Hi everybody and welcome back to Let's Play Persona 5. So last time out, it was the springing of the trap and kind of us letting the bad guys think that our main character is dead. Sorry. So this part, actually these next couple of parts, are going to be purely about the explanation of how all this was pulled off and how we kind of worked out who all the bad guys were and that kind of thing. So that's what we're kicking off today's part with. Yeah, this whole part is going to be about what kind of happened, what how we got away with this shit. And so yeah, the first thing that they kind of do here is the reveal of how they found out about what happened with how they found out about Kechi. Basically that Futaba bugged his phone, and from that they were able to work out that basically everything he's going to do, which is basically make us think that he's going to be the good guy and joining up with us, but in reality is basically going to be setting a trap and have the police enter into Mementos, enter into Sai's palace basically, to be able to capture us and take us down, and then kind of link all the murders, all the mental shutdown cases and all the and all the bad stuff that's happened is going to be put squarely on our shoulders, allowing him and his what should I say here? His boss, I guess. Allow him and his boss to go off and do whatever to continue to do whatever the fuck they feel like. So yeah, this is pretty much how they found out about it. Yeah, so basically we now know that Akechi is the man in black, the man with the black mask. He's the one who's been doing all the mental shutdowns on behalf of somebody else. And so yeah, it's all about now this is all about actually as well trying to build up a plan to kind of spring the trap, but without having permanent damage, like with all of us either going to jail or being brutally murdered. And that's where Futaba comes up with the plan herself. Actually, I would say at this point in the game, Futaba kind of comes into her own at this point in the game, and it's kind of like the main. Even though Makoto kind of brings everything together, sorry, Futaba is really the one who comes up with everything and allows everything to kind of take place, if you know what I mean. It's really interesting. It's it's so cool to see her kind of become the big figure in this part of the story.
Where are they?
Waiting upstairs. Go tell them to come on down. I'm gonna fetch him.
Yep. It's time for us to meet up with the rest of the guys to let them know that we aren't fucking dead.
Makoto told me everything. Futaba-chan, I'm sorry that I caused you so much trouble this past summer.
It's ancient history now.
And again, this is a nice little bit of a wrap-up for that little thing that, she was kind of bothering Futaba earlier on in the story, and it's kind of like a nice little thing to kind of be like... I love that from Yuji. But yeah, nice little bit of ending it. Sorry, tying up the loose ends for Futaba. But anyway, we now meet up with them. And yeah, it is kind of like fuck.
Still, how'd you pull this off?
I mentioned it last part, but the how
You weren't told anything?
the reactions that we see from all these guys, kind of, it's kind of a cheap little trick to kind of try and so they
Well,
don't
you
get
have
the
a heart
reveal that
attack.
it's all part of a big
I didn't
plan
have time to
that they
explain.
concocted, you know, so it
Should we
doesn't
tell boss what
show up
really
too early.
happened?
We wanted to make our enemy believe
My
the
apologies.
leader of the
Sorry,
Phantom
fucking hell, my
Thieves
throat.
was dead.
But
What?
yeah,
What we
I-
did was
I-
make that enemy
I
kill his
mean,
fake in the metaverse.
it's necessary, I guess, to get the big
Oh,
reveal.
hold on a sec.
But it's just, you know, I don't like it.
What are you talking
That's
about?
all I'll say.
The true culprit behind
And
the
of course,
incident set us up.
we need an actual narrative reason as to why the guys would discuss the entire plan, the entirety of the
So you
plan.
guys were going up against someone
And
else.
the fact that we've got Sai and
Before
Sojiro here
Akechi,
means that we can explain it
You knew
fully
beforehand
to
that
the
he was
pair of them,
traitor, didn't
and
you?
so that they know everything, the whole reason of why everything went down the way it did.
Akechi himself gave us the chance to strike back. He made one fatal mistake.
Couldn't you have just
Yep.
said from the beginning that Akechi was the real culprit?
That wasn't something we could simply bring up. We couldn't have you suspect Akechi.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean,
Neither
even
you
if we had
nor
said
the
that,
other
I think even if they had
investigators
said that,
would
like right at the
believe
beginning of
something
the,
like that, would you?
you know, once they
True.
worked out that
Akechi
he was the
credited
murderer,
with the arrest of the Phantom
Sai would have
Thieves.
never
Not
believed.
even I would think he
No
was the
one would have
culprit.
ever believed that Akechi
In
was
other words, you left him alone
was
on
the murderer.
purpose.
And the
That was
fact
a
that we
bold
were
move.
saying that out loud would basically print a
I
like
can't keep up
giant,
with any of this stuff.
even more giant kind of target around on our
So
backs.
What was this mistake
We'd basically get
Akechi made?
murdered
What did he do?
instantly by Akechi
slipped
and
up in
his
regards to Morgana's
and the guys
voice.
that he works for.
You mean a cat?
Yes, Morgana can talk.
I like this line, and I like this kind of reveal to Sojiro
Was
that
that
like,
supposed to be a joke?
yeah, Morgana, we can
Oh,
understand
apologies.
Morgana. Like
That's
she's fine.
completely true.
Like Morgana can
You
Morgana can
surprised?
talk.
Does that mean he said something just now as well?
But you don't understand.
It's also
him,
kind of a
do
nice
you?
little thing
That's
to
how it
lead
was
up
for all of us
to
at
part
first,
of the
too.
explanation as to how
When
they
you're in the
started to
metaverse, Mona talks like a normal
get
person.
Akechi
Once you hear that and
done
your brain
first, you know,
realizes
how
can
they
actually talk,
realised that
you
he was
start
the
to
murderer.
understand him in reality. It's a change in cognition, most likely.
Thanks to Akechi's
Well said,
lame
Futab.
acting, we figured out something was up.
Yeah, here we go. So yeah, you might think that
Talk
it's
to
kind of
Akechi
a
at the
pointless
school festival.
point to bring
He's
up,
acting
but
like he just
no.
realized Mona could talk.
There is a
But we
reason for
already
it.
saw him
We
drop a
first
big
started.
hint
The reason
about
they
it
first started
way
suspecting him
earlier.
was because he dropped a
I
major,
know,
massive
Grace.
hint
I want to go
here,
to that huge pancake-looking place
'cause
we
Morgana
passed
is the
on way
one
here.
talking about pancakes in this section,
Oh, am I mistaken?
and
I
Akechi.
thought I heard something about delicious pancakes.
Yep, so he started talking about pancakes. He heard someone talk about pancakes, and Morgana's the only one who mentioned it, which meant he's been in the metaverse before, which
Mona
means that
was the
he's
only one
entirely,
who was talking about a
he's the
pancake.
primary
That
culprit
meant
in
Akechi'd
the
already
prime
been in the
suspect, I should
metaverse
say,
by then.
as to
And since
who
he
could
was
be the
lying to us
guy
about
committing
that,
these
we assumed he had a hidden motive
crimes.
behind contacting us.
It seemed odd upon further thought. His reaction to my pancake comment was an honest one, after all.
Yeah,
That said,
we got
weren't so
fucking
naive
lucky
to
there.
overlook something like that. That's why we asked Futaba-chan to wiretap his phone. I
Yes,
pretended to
so
be
wiretapped
interested in
his
checking
phone.
the phone out, but I was actually
And that's the
planting my
reason why
ad.
Futaba, on our first
My heart
meeting
was
with
pounding
Akechi,
while I
pretty
was
much,
doing it, though.
before we went
Being
into
an ace
Sai's Palace for the
detective
first
could
time,
never have imagined
had a
program
complete
being
geek fit
installed
over
so
his
quickly.
phone,
Futaba's quirky nature
and that
proved
was
to be
just
a
so
great
she could
help.
quickly place a
That was just an ad.
place the
After a few days of listening,
observation
Ace
app
confirmed his betrayal.
on his phone, which again, it's a nice little. It means that everything is in, you know, has everything they show, they've shown you at this to this point, and it has a reason for it. So which is kind of fucking awesome. And how a good kind of whodunit should do it, really, so you can work everything out ahead of time if you're observant enough. Of course, I wasn't. I'm an observant fuck, but it's still a pretty awesome reveal to watch. This is like one of my favourite sections of the whole fucking game. Just the kind of the reveal of how they worked all this out and how they're going to be dealing, how they kind of put this
So
plan
they
into
planned to
motion.
get
It's
rid of
really
that guard
fucking
from the
cool.
beginning.
Well then, I will make the arrangements the day after the arrest.
So yeah, that was the plan. The plan was to basically, he was going to, at the Phantom Thieves, he was going to get the main guy kind of, us, kind of captured, and once we were captured, he was then going to silently kill us off.
I knew he was acting strangely, but to think he was this far gone.
you know,
He's no ace detective.
and,
the
you know,
perpetrator behind
get
the
rid of the
mental
guard
shutdown
to
crimes.
get rid of any evidence that Akechi actually turned up there.
On top of that, there's someone else commanding Akechi. Someone
So
with
yeah,
great
there you go.
authority. So great that they can order an assassination in a police station. That's
Yeah,
why
and
we
this
had to make
as
a
well,
move
it
before
kind of
they
brings up
did.
the thing of, like,
I
there's
see.
very, very few kind of people who could order this kind of thing so easily.
We
So it
baited
kind of
Akechi into Sis's palace,
it
making him
brings
dispose
down
of
the
our
list of
leader's
possible
fate.
suspects of who's
think
behind
he killed
Akechi
him.
as well.
Can you elaborate on that in more detail? What exactly happened in my cognitive world?
We're sorry.
Please
we used
do.
you
This is
without
the
your
interesting part.
permission. Your palace had all the conditions we needed.
What conditions?
First, we required a place inside the cognitive world that was the same as in reality.
Yes, and you might remember when we first entered Sai's palace, that
That place is
basically
based on the real
there was
world after all.
I think it was
Anywhere that's not warped looks just like
Makoto
normal.
kind of observed
And that's why
that
nobody but
basically
person who
the
uses the nav even
um,
realizes they're in the
the
metaverse.
cognitive version of
Back
the
with
police
Kamoshida,
station
we came in from the station without even
was
noticing.
exactly the same, as it looked exactly the same as it did in the real
Totally
world.
Can't tell the difference if there ain't any distortions around.
So that meant
We
if
had
it
already
looked the same in the real
investigated
world,
Nijima's palace when
in
Makoto brought
Sai's
the
palace, it
suggestion to
doesn't
us.
as it did in the real world.
I was seriously impressed
Then
by that suggestion.
it can be
To
used
honest, I
to
didn't quite understand it,
stage
but
this
I went along
plan.
with it. Yeah, it's good we have her heading up our operations.
Makoto is normally so calm as well. But once her mind is set, she gets oddly impulsive.
I did have a bit of a rivalry forming with Akechi, but I just couldn't contain
I
myself
like that.
anymore once
I like
he
that as
became
well.
the
It's kind of a
target
bit
sis.
more character
The
coming
reason
out
I
from
joined
Makoto
the
there.
Phantom Thieves was
That she
to
was,
heal
you know,
your
that she
heart,
was
after all.
starting
My
to
own achievements were all that mattered.
have a bit
to
of
me.
personal
I was
kind of
desperate.
thing with Akechi and kind of being, you know,
I wasn't myself at all. I'm sorry.
a bit
I
of personal
couldn't see
pride
that.
that she wants to, you know,
That goes for the both of us.
fucking let this
We
guy
heard from
have it,
Maki-chan that you were going to do the interrogation, Nijima-san.
beat his ass,
And regarding its
basically.
location, I
Which
take
I
it
like.
you use the data from my laptop.
I'm sorry.
Maybe.
Go on.
There were two
Koto,
things we
don't
were
just
able to
answer
confirm
that so
while we were
readily.
checking the metaverse.
And I love these pictures here
First,
as well. It's
our
so.
clothes didn't change when we were down in the
God, that's what I love about this game so much. It's so stylized and
Second,
amazing.
the scenery
I
and
love it.
details outside of the palace proper were the same as in the real world.
Yep.
Once we heard that
So
from
we needed
Makoto,
the
we secretly went
um,
to check it out
the
without Akechi
interrogation
knowing.
room to be the same in Mementos
There
as it was in the
also
real
one
world,
more thing
and
we absolutely
we were
needed to
fortunate
make
with that,
this
I
work.
guess. Bit of luck.
Perfect cognitive replica of him in the metaverse's interrogation
This,
room.
I don't think they ever truly explain.
Since
They
you
just
had yet
say
to be
that,
caught, though,
yeah,
it's
we were
obvious
able
there
to
wouldn't be
create a
anyone in that room.
cognitive version
Once we
of
saw the casino guys and
the
police
main
officers,
character.
we were convinced this would work. They looked no different
They don't
from
really
actual living
explain,
people.
though, how that happens.
After
They
that,
just
we
kind of
had to
say
warp
that,
our way into the
yeah, we
palace
created
like
a
usual,
cognitive
while
copy,
keeping Akechi in
stuck
the
him in
dark.
the cognitive version of the interrogation room, and then had Akechi shoot that person. But there's never really any explanation.
Up until we defeated Sis's shadow.
Sorry, there's never really any
It
explanation as
was
to how they
then
do it.
that we were met
I
with
think
a
the only thing they kind of
terrifying,
show is
unexpected police ambush.
Makoto,
As a result, even though we managed to grab the
Yusuke, and
treasure,
Futaba go
we
into
couldn't
the
get it out of the
cognitive
metaverse.
interrogation room.
Except
and,
that was all an act.
Futaba's in there
prepared
with a
an empty
laptop, so
briefcase
my assumption is that
beforehand,
she's
And when
somehow
we
able
acted
to create a
like we
piece of
were taking the
software which
treasure, this was
creates
because we
this
knew the police would be
thing,
coming for us.
like this cognitive
We made
version
sure
of
before the
us.
operation that the police
But
would be
it's never
waiting to
really
ambush
fully
us.
explained. It's just
And
kind of
just
like a
as
thing of
expected, he totally
just
turned
accept
the
it.
page.
Just accept it. They made a cognitive version of the main character, and that's, you know, all you need to know.
Him getting captured by the police went exactly how we planned it.
And I had
So,
been
yeah.
interrogating him with no knowledge
The
of
whole
this.
aim was for
But
me to
how
get
did
captured
you
in the
lure
first place,
Akechi into this
to
cognitive world's
kind of bring
interrogation room?
Akechi and the
All I
guy
needed
behind
were the
Akechi out
coordinates.
into the open. to remotely, yeah, she used the laptop to remotely access the metaverse.
Akechi disposed of the fake in the palace and left thinking he had been victorious.
I love this
It must have
picture of
been
Akechi
truly
as well. It's so
hilarious for
awesome.
our leader who sat idly in the real world's interrogation room.
And I love Yusuke's kind of performance here
Surely
as well.
he was acting quite cocky by himself in that quiet chamber.
Yeah, I love this line reading. So good.
That's why you gave me your phone. I only took it because of what you told me.
It's a shame I didn't have the opportunity
So yeah,
to see that
the
for
Futaba
myself.
from her laptop was able to kind of remotely access that phone and kind of remotely cause it to cause the mementos app to activate to send Akechi and Sai
In our
both into the
experience, there is little
both into
danger when
mementos,
someone enters their own palace for so short a time.
so that Akechi would kill the mementos copy.
Deceive the guard and ultimately aid in his escape. By having you head back to the interrogation room, we could return you to the real world.
So
as well.
yeah, and a big part of the plan as well was to basically for the main character to sorry, for the main character to convince Sai in our when she's interrogating us, to convince Sai that to kind of come over to our side and kind of help us out. Because if we weren't able to do that and we weren't able to convince Sai that we were telling the truth, she wouldn't have bothered with all the phone stuff. And that would have meant that our plan would have ended in abject failure. So yeah, not good really.
Still, I'm surprised you could convince
And something else
me in
as well,
such a
it's kind
short
of
time.
helpful that
Are you confident you could do it?
The guys in question here, the guys who are the evil
Either way, I
bad
can't
guys and all
believe
this,
you went for such a risky idea.
were just
If we could tell you
just
the
wanted to
true
get,
culprit's plan, I knew
get
you'd
this
realize
guy
the bigger
done,
picture.
so
Realize
to
that our
speak,
leader
just to
was
get us
telling
out of the
the
way
truth,
as
and that
quickly
there
as
was a
possible.
greater
That
evil to pursue.
didn't even
As a
bother to
result,
check whether
we
there was a
emerged
body, just
victorious.
forged all the
And the reason you kept this
all
a
the
secret from me was so you
the
could catch the true culprit,
death
correct?
certificate and all that kind of stuff, because they'd paid off the
Wes,
doctors in
you
the
had
morgue
lost
and
control
all the
of
people
yourself
within
at the
government to
time.
kind of cover all this shit up.
This is stunning.
So it's fortunate that he's
All I can really do is laugh.
the main villain is a bit of
I've
a,
kind figured out that
in
you
some ways, a
guys
bit of a
made Akechi
dumbass and a
kill
jackass.
Faye. What did you do about the body?
The police never even checked it.
Huh?
And there you go.
They had a coroner
that's
working
kind
to
of
ensure his
the
death
thing,
was
they
reported
just-
as a suicide. That coroner didn't take one look at the
The
scene.
coroner just
passed
reported
along
it
a
without
falsified
looking
death
at
certificate.
any body. They didn't really give a fuck.
Bad
They
guys
just
have
wanted to
that much influence?
say that I was the
Murdering
main
a
character was
police
dead, so
station
that
would
they
be
could move
reckless
on
otherwise.
with their next part of their
Also
plan and
knew
not
of a
have to
possible
bother.
conspirator.
Thanks to Futaba-chan's messages and the guard's demeanor, I eventually came to understand. And since the higher-ups at the police knew nothing of this, they were thrown into disarray. As a result, his suicide during imprisonment was reported on the news, just as Akechi planned.
Yep.
And with that confusion,
there you go.
he was able to escape with Nijima-san's help.
Yep, and because
I
there
made
was
sure
so much
nobody would
confusion,
check the
we were
morgue
able
for
to
his
get the
body,
fuck out
and
thanks to
that,
Sai's
nobody
help.
knows he survived.
So yeah,
Back to the interrogation, though. I can't believe what they did
you
to
know,
him.
so yeah, it's pretty
Callous use of
pretty
violence
awesome that
and even
the
drugs is utterly abnormal. If he had
everything
lost
went according to
consciousness
plan because
and
of
hadn't
the
been able to tell
kind
Sis
of
about the phone, he would have
the
died. I'm
corruptness
truly
of
glad
the
he
kind
made
of
it back safe.
of the government and the police and all that kind of thing. It was
I
close.
almost became one of your assailants as well.
It still freaked me out when I saw the suicide on the news, though.
And
We
yeah,
made
this
sure
is
to
the
live
one
normal
line
lives
which
while
kind
he
of
was being interrogated to avoid drawing suspicion. Even
yeah.
with
So
that,
this is the
I
one
couldn't
line
help
where
but
which
worry
kind of
in my heart.
explains why they reacted in the way that they
I knew
did.
right away that her
You know,
plan
that it
worked
was
out.
it was still a shock, even though they
I
knew it
wanted
was
to
complete
believe,
bullshit.
but considering what we were up
Which
against,
you know,
Ryuji's
I
been
still
on
didn't
the
buy it as
dancing
as an
carefree side.
excuse, but
Can it, cat?
yeah, I guess
I had to
whatever.
be patient and avoid
Do
this
what they
place
want.
until things settled
It doesn't
down.
matter at the end of the day.
I finally feel relieved.
we knew he was alive, but it was difficult
Yeah.
to not worry until we could confirm it in person.
Now that I think about it, my interrogation was just a formality for the head commander. What a joke, letting me interrogate someone who was meant to die. They just wanted to avoid backlash. Very well. From here forward,
Very
I will
much so.
do my utmost to assist you. You saved me, after all.
That's reassuring.
Yeah, and this is
to
kind of
hear.
a thing as well,
I'll do
which
whatever I can to help you.
Persona 5
Just let me
does
know.
decently,
Let's take
I
a
will say.
break for now, though.
Because up to this
Don't
point, kind of
drain
all
it
the
for
adults
food.
have been kind of assholes and jerks,
Oh, feel
and
free to use the first floor when you
just
guys
not
get
done.
together to talk.
You know, they're all
You'll need a hideout where you can
corrupt,
be
out
safe.
for themselves,
Just say the word
don't give a
and I'll
shit
close
about
shop
anybody
early.
else. And
Are you
this
sure?
is the first time where we have
This
kind
guy
of two
can't
adults,
leave. Plus, you won't make much progress
who,
if people can
you
hear you
know,
from downstairs.
because they know what's
It's not
going on
like this
fully,
place is the liveliest
and
joint
they
in
know that
town.
we're trying to do the right
It won't be
thing.
a huge loss
They're
for
just, you know, this is the point
us
where we
accept
finally
his
have two
offer.
adults who are actually awesome
What a great man.
people who are just trying to do the right thing, which I kind of like. But thank you. I don't need to know. All right, moving on. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole story of what happened. Now it's time to come up with the to check in with the bad guys and Shido, that piece of shit. By the way, that little line there, Tom tells you that name sounds familiar. It's again,
You've done well with
it's Atlas
regard to
storytelling,
principle.
really, of just kind of not banging, you're banging a certain plot points over your head until you,
I had him work
you
quite
know,
substantially,
so you can't
His loss should be mourned.
help but get it right. You know what I mean? Of, you know, he was the guy who kind of screwed us
Yes,
over
I
originally
was
and
in
got us into
disarray
the
with his
situation we're
death.
in now.
I'll take my time choosing a successor after the election.
So yeah, Shido planned to have the leader of the SA, or had the leader of the SIU killed off, and now Akechi
All
thinks that
possible
he's just
hindrances are now
just,
gone.
you know,
There's
dog's
no
bollocks
doubt
here.
that this
Yeah, he's
election is mine.
he's got his win, or so he thinks. But yeah, that is going to be it for this part of Persona 5. Join me next time. So the next part of Persona 5 is going to be us basically filling in the final gaps of what happened, and also moving on to the next section, which is the gang discovering who the main bad guy is and finding out where his palace is. So join me next time for the next part of Persona 5 for more story explanation. Anyway, see you next time.